And here we are, the two guys that live in the dirty pocket. Myself, co-host Stacy Bauman, and I am joined by my partner in crime, the Scout, Daniel Kelly. My friend, how are you? I feel like I have barely talked to you this week.
We haven't talked.
It's been crazy. Just been a nutty week.
Hey, some weeks are like that. And if we know anything about how the season progressed in 2021, we know that every single week was unpredictable, and that's continued right into this next upcoming season and in 2022. I mean, every day is unpredictable. I mean, just look. I mean, the 49ers center retired today, kind of out of the blue. I mean, things are always changing. Things are always happening.
I got to tell you, man, it's wild. And, of course, the big announcement that Frank Gore is going to go into, and I can't believe I'm going to say this team name this early, the San Francisco 49ers. He's going to go into their Hall of Fame. So it has already been an eventful week, and that's what we're going to toss around today is the bizarre offseason and some of the top unresolved stories in the NFL, my man. But, hey, we got to start with tradition. And before we even get into our beverages, because you gave me a teaser that there was something big coming on the beverage front, but let us see that jersey because MTO is, and I don't know how he did this, is already popping off about it.
Yeah.
The Malik Willis jersey is
MTO.
fresh,
yes,
says MTO. So,
hey, thank you, MTO. I may very well have the only white Tennessee Titans Malik jersey in the country right now off the NFL shop, because NFL shop was actually they were selling the blue and the gray ones, but I wanted white. So I went with the customized jersey with Willis to get the white one. So they're not even selling these on NFL shop yet. So I may have the only one in the country. And thank you, MTO. Hey, I don't just say my QB1 in 2022 is Malik Willis. I wear it.
I love it. I don't know how he saw that jersey so fast. This guy's got eagle eyes. I love it. It is a very fresh jersey. You're openly supporting the Tennessee Titans tonight, even in Hatland. I'm still nursing the wound of losing Robert Woods from the world champion Los Angeles Rams to the Titans. So Malik Willis will have an absolute stud to throw the ball to.
Hey, there you go. You see, here's the deal, okay? Now we see my hand, right?
We're going to see the tat again.
We see the tat, okay? I am officially a free agent when it comes to teams. My team doesn't exist anymore. So it allows me to be able to wear different teams' jerseys, sport different hats, do different things, because my team my team name is gone, which is so strange. You know what I mean? It's almost like St. Louis just sitting there Rams,
too soon.
You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? It's like the same type of or like how Houston was for years. It's like, would they support the Tennessee Titans when they were the Houston Oilers, or when Baltimore lost their team to Indianapolis? I mean, it's just one of those odd places where I don't identify with the Washington Commanders. I don't get, there's nothing about that organization that resonates with a fiber of my body.
Yeah, and I get that. I get that. I mean, I went through a real emotional turmoil when the Rams moved to St. Louis. And then, of course, I stuck with them. We ended up winning a Super Bowl there. But it's just a rough one if you've been a fan since you were a little boy. It's just a little tough. I tell you what, MTO coming in hot with some early advice for you on, a quarterback that maybe you knew. I certainly knew.
Oh, absolutely. I saw that thing on Twitter where there was a group of 15 guys wearing a Fitzpatrick jersey from a different team. Well, it's a famous tweet that's out there right now that's gone viral from, I think, was it Barstool Sports or something?
Yeah.
So I have it on my page, in fact. So it says, time to join the Ryan Fitzpatrick in retirement from Washington. Yeah, that's you know what? Let me just say this about Fitzpatrick in Washington. He actually retired for all intents and purposes last year. Because he literally played about 10 snaps in, and he was done for the season. So that's Who
Tough
knows?
times, man, in
Sometimes, but
Washington.
MTO's in rare form tonight.
I love it, man. And I got to tell you, thanks for joining us,
Yeah,
my friend,
different night
because
even. That's
different night. We had some shake and bake stuff going on in life, and we moved to a different night. It's really great to see you. Yeah, again, one of the top headlines, Ryan Fitzpatrick sends out this bizarre post to all his teammates with all their names on it saying, yeah, I'm going to call it a career. And that hits for both of our teams. Wait a minute. Did he play for the Jets too? Wait, I know he played
just about every team.
Okay, just about every team. And so all of us can relate to Fitzpatrick, who's just a hilarious guy and not a terrible quarterback either. So, yeah, tough times in Commanderville. I think we're all waiting for some of the. Yeah, that's what I thought, MTO. I thought so. So, yeah, Fitzpatrick, that's going to be a big loss just from a personality standpoint. Great for the league all the way around. But yeah, the Commanders, man, I'm bleeding for you. I know you're kind of in that weird zone. I've been in that zone for probably 2 decades out of my life with my team. That's why I'm riding this Super Bowl as hard as I am. It's
strange. It's very, very strange. Not only that, but I mean, one of their jerseys, their white jersey, looks like a cross between, it's like the Atlanta Falcons almost. It's like a red and a black, like, you know, I mean, I thought Jim Zorn was joking when he became the Washington Redskins head coach a few years back, and he said, I'm really proud to join the Burgundy and Black organization. And somebody had to remind Jim Zorn that they were burgundy and gold at that point. So yeah, so man, but now the jerseys are almost like looking a little bit like the Falcons, that white one. It's just a real bizarre time. And matter of fact, I came in hot this week on Jack Del Rio. I don't know if you heard about that.
Saw that article. Saw you coming in on that.
Yeah, I came in hot on that. Jack Del Rio, he wanted to, come in hot on a fan and blew him up a little bit and said, bite D's. For those of you who don't know what that means, look it up under the Urban Dictionary. But I'm not going to get into that right now. But it was a pretty bold statement by Coach Del Rio. And so I went ahead as a former NFL scout and threw a ball that was about twice as hard as what he threw at that fan. And and I said, well, let's first of all get a couple things clarified before you go off half cocked here on this fan here, Coach Del Rio. Number one, I would like you to clarify for the entire fan base. Turn up your volume, Coach Del Rio. I'd like you to clarify for the whole fan base why that defense of yours was so incredibly soft last year, going from number 4 in 2020 to number 25 last season, ranking with 8 out of 11 to the same starters returning on that defense with the same staff. Could you clarify for us what happened with your scheme and why it was an epic fail last year? And then I came back with, because he was supporting Deron Payne, right? And he was saying that Payne is such a big baller and everything. Listen, Deron Payne has never been a baller. Nick Saban had to light a fighter under him from what I was told from people from Alabama. Even, he's a lazier football player. And so I came at him and I said, well, let's talk a little bit about Chase Young, who I named on my Twitter last week. I said on a tweet, I declared him as a bust after our last show on a tweet. At like 11:59 at p.m. that night, I sent out a tweet saying he is a bust officially. He's a former NFL scout. I'm putting a label on him. And I asked Coach Del Rio to clarify. And, of course, I also tagged the USA Today, Washington Wire, since they ran with that story. And I just wanted to get a feel from Coach Del Rio exactly why Chase Young could only log 15 solo tackles and 1.5 sacks in the first 9 games prior to the knee injury. What was wrong with him? Why was he so soft? And what was going on there? And of course, I did not get a response. Then the next morning, I came out with a tweet basically telling Coach Del Rio, if you want to bring me to Washington, I have a never before seen revolutionary defense that will win the Super Bowl for your team if you want to hire me as your assistant. And I mentioned in that tweet that my interview with the Jets came down to me looking Bill Belichick in the eyes and convincing him to hire me. So if you want to win the Super Bowl, let me know. I'll come in there because I do have a defense that's along the lines of Buddy Ryan's 46 that no one in the NFL has ever seen before that will run the table. and I've designed a defense that will do that. So I was willing to give that to Coach Del Rio. So far, I haven't heard back from Coach Del Rio. I haven't heard anything from the USA Today, Washington Wire. But I tell you what, these people have to be held accountable, because the thing of it is I can't stand how they've made Taylor Heineke into a piñata out there in Washington, when it's the defense that absolutely fell on their face and caused this whole thing to fall apart in Washington. I want the onus to be where it belongs, and that's on that Washington defense, which I talked about on 106.7 the FM, the Fan out there a few months ago when I supported Taylor Heineke. I just think it's wrong the way they've been playing him.
Oh, wow, man. We went deep on some Commander talk to start off this week, and I don't disagree with any of those points. That defense was a major disappointment. MTO pops off with really what was a low point.
That was awful.
That's when stuff has gone sideways right there. That was an interesting moment for sure.
It was really bad, yeah.
But I digress. We got in some Commanders talk. We've got in my obligatory mention of the world champions. We are going to tackle, we'll say 3 to 5 of what we think are unresolved, bizarro stories that continue to hang out. Twilight Zone stuff. I wanted the music. I couldn't get it. I'll tell you.
Do it instead with your own voice.
Very good. Yeah, I'm not bad at that. Okay.
Our drinks.
I was leading into that. We got a little sideways. So this week, what are we sporting in terms of beverage sponsorship?
Well,
Scout Kelly.
We have to understand something. The show is at the point where I'm actually going shopping special for a drink each week.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm actually going out of my way to go pick up a drink just for you, Stacy, and just for MTO, and just for the people that are watching the show. So this week, okay, here we go. Ready? Here it comes. Coming in hot.
What is that? G Fuel?
G Fuel.
I'm so not cool. What the hell is G Fuel?
Orange Vibe. Okay.
Okay. Oh, MTO. He knows immediately.
Yeah, G Fuel, right?
What is this?
See now this. It says on the top of the can, 0 sugar, which all 9 of my kids will love.
Respect.
Extreme focus and performance energy, it says.
Oh,
and
that's fantastic for you.
That's a perfect bedtime snack for me, because it is a little later out here. It's going on 10 o'clock. So this is what I drink before I go to bed. Okay. And so G Fuel, so it's an Orange Vibe. Now, so how could I spin this? Okay. How can I spin this? Okay?
Oh boy, here comes the song.
Okay. So basically here we go. Okay. Well, we've all heard of the Orange Crush defense with Denver, right? So
of course.
So see how the can's kind of designed?
Oh yeah.
Twilight Zone can.
It's very hip, man. It's way out of my league.
And then I'll be like, when things get really bizarre for your NFL team, reach for a G Fuel. It'll make sense of what doesn't make sense otherwise. Available in grocery stores everywhere.
And at least you didn't say especially San Francisco. According to MTO, it really helps a guy get to taking a piss pretty frequently.
Well, that's fantastic. My townhouse has 2 bathrooms. So I'll be like that one guy in that show. Remember that show we watched, that podcast at one time, Stacy?
That was crazy. Yeah.
And said, hey, listen, I got to use the facilities. He was gone for about 10 minutes on the live feed.
It's very entertaining. Yeah. Very entertaining. Okay,
thanks, MTO. Let me see what happens here.
Oh no. This could go sideways so rapidly.
Hold on, I gotta go. No, I'm just kidding. Go. What do you think?
I came with something new too. This is the new flavor for Zevia. It's creamy root beer, sugar-free. Doesn't make a man want to wet himself every few seconds, but I'm gonna tell you that it's pretty tasty. I'm on it.
Wow.
I'm on it. Very nice.
Wow,
Good job. All right, great, good stuff. Okay, we got to jump into some NFL storylines here as we're limited for time. We've got another 30 minutes or so. We want to cover some of these stories. I'm going to stay away from one name in particular for a few minutes here. Just going to stay away from there. So if you're watching and you like that team that plays in San Francisco, just be patient or possibly take a nap.
Well, don't you mean North Dakota?
North Dakota State. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So
Yeah, there we go, MTO.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
Going to stay away from that for a few minutes.
We don't even say the name. We just do asterisks. You're right.
That's right. We don't even get to say the name. So let's start with somebody else that I have an interest in.
A bot. He disappeared, by the way. I think he was a bot or something. I don't know. I think it was a real person even.
Yeah. Oh, really? Is he gone off Twitter and just gone?
He's gone. Yeah, I think he was a bot.
Yeah, there was something highly bizarre and suspicious about that gentleman.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We'll leave that one alone. Let's start somewhere else. Let's start in the middle of the country with a guy that I'm becoming increasingly intrigued about this story. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield. I find myself very surprised. So in our list of very strange stories taking place right now, including G Fuel, I'm very intrigued why the former number one pick and Heisman Trophy winner and a guy that led the Browns back to the playoffs after many years of not sniffing them can't find anywhere to play football. Like are the Browns just out there asking for the moon in exchange for him? And this all comes on the heels of the fact that Deshaun Watson got hit with another lawsuit from a 23rd female now who claims that he was inappropriate with her. And yet Baker very quietly is in the background. We don't hear any news about him. He made his point known that he was semi-interested in joining the Seattle Seahawks. He thought that was a good fit. Pete Carroll says, I don't think we're going to do that. What is going on with Baker Mayfield as we sit here at the beginning of June? OTAs have started in the NFL. It's very intriguing to me that this guy can't find a home or hasn't yet.
It really is, Stacy. It's a real strange, bizarre Twilight Zone type of situation. MTO comes on there talking about Mayfield just really immature. All the baggage is caught up with him, the commercials, the gestures, throwing Hugh Jackson under the bus, etc. I'll say this is that there is something, to your point, MTO, there is something I think that goes beyond what's come out publicly at this point that's going on that we're going to see surface at some point. Because the first warning sign for me, Stacy, and our listeners and MTO was when the Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson. And I really thought that Baker Mayfield was going to be part of that deal. And he was going to end up going to Houston, where they really don't have a whole lot right now at quarterback. I just did not see Belichick disciple GM Houston, Nick Caserio, going with Davis Mills and Kyle Allen at quarterback. I didn't see that at all. So I thought Baker was going to go down to Houston and salvage that situation to some extent. Now, when Mayfield was not a part of that deal, it really kind of was eye-opening to me. And where he's going to go from here, one only knows. It could be a situation that drags into training camp. They may be trying to see, because they're not going to get a whole lot for him right now. This is not like some big smoke screen deal. Okay. This is not like some leverage deal where they're holding out, like you talked about, maybe Stacy. I mean, I think ideally right now they hold on to Baker. Number one, see what happens with Deshaun. Now, I don't think they can salvage that situation to begin with. I don't really think Deshaun's going to be suspended to begin with, but I don't think they could salvage that. But number two, they may be seeing if somebody gets hurt in training camp, like a team starter, or somebody goes down. You remember like what happened to the Rams, with Trent Green that one year. Somebody gets hurt really bad in the preseason. All of a sudden, whoa, boy, Baker Mayfield's in there. Maybe now we get a late first round, early second round pick because, all of a sudden the Dallas Cowboys are without Dak Prescott or something. They're desperate. Maybe something like that happens.
Okay. Interesting take. Yeah, I tend to lean that way myself right now. There was some rumblings earlier today that some of the teammates on another podcast were talking about the fact that OBJ and Mayfield just didn't like each other. It was really that simple. And interestingly enough, here they both are just sitting in limbo. OBJ hasn't re-signed with the Rams, and Baker Mayfield looks like he's gone from the most valuable player in a draft to nobody really wants him at this point. I don't think that they can salvage that relationship with him
Probably
based
not.
on this. I just don't see it.
Not the way the owner came out and talked about him, saying we need to get an adult in here. That's not going to happen. Another interesting situation I think that could be a really good fit quickly. We talked about this in previous shows, Stacey, is the Minnesota Vikings. The GM up there in Minnesota now is from Cleveland. That's also where the head coach from the Browns came from, Kevin Stefanski. There's some relationship there between the Vikings and the Browns that could happen too. Of course, that'd be very threatening to Kirk Cousins. We'll get into more about him later, baby. But, I think if I had to put money in Vegas on where Mayfield's going to end up at this point, I would say it's the Minnesota Vikings.
Really? Now, if you're a Viking fan, MTO says it all. I got a question. I understand the connection, and that has proven true. You've been right on that more than once. But how in the world do they think that Mayfield is that big of an upgrade over Kirk Cousins? Now,
he's a dramatic upgrade. He's a dramatic upgrade.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Hit us with this.
Absolutely. I can't stand Kirk Cousins, so we'll just jump into this a little bit right now.
That much we know.
Right. This was another part of our show, is that Kirk Cousins, to me, is the most overrated, overpaid player in the National Football League. He's awful. I have been begging teams that not even have anything to do with this guy. In fact, when he was first in Washington, a fourth-round pick out of Michigan State, he came in the league the same year as RG3. He had some early success early on when RG3 got hurt. But listen, he got worse and worse. And what's happening is that, as in the words of one former NFL scouting director who was in the league for 3 decades or more, told me, one word about Kirk Cousins: inconsistent. Okay. Kirk Cousins is a guy who folds like a tent under pressure. Okay. Exactly. Thankfully, MTO, the Jets didn't get Cousins. I couldn't wait till he left Washington. Okay. I could see, you can always tell what's inside of a player when all the chips are on the table, okay? In Washington, towards the end of his time there, he had a chance to strike a big deal with the Redskins at the time, and the Redskins needed to beat the Giants to make the playoffs. He came out of the locker room looking flat as a board. He was awful in that game. They got beat. He left. I was in contact with Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns at that point, who was asking me for my ideas about the team and so forth. And I wrote a letter back to Mr. Haslam begging him not to pick up Kirk Cousins because he was that bad. When Minnesota signed Cousins, I said, there you go. See, the Minnesota Vikings are a classic oversell and underdeliver. Okay. They've been that way since I've been a boy. I grew up there every year. Oh, the Vikings are going to do this. Oh, the Vikings are going to do that. Always these huge expectations, and always the bottom with has no floor. The bottom just falls out and they fall right from the floor. Okay. It's Kirk Cousins is a perfect fit for that losing mentality in Minnesota that says we're going to win, but they never can win. This guy, I guarantee you, okay, I will bet my house on this that I rent, okay, that I will bet my house.
Bold.
Exactly. Kirk Cousins will never win anything in Minnesota or anywhere. This guy is absolutely stealing a paycheck in the National Football League, okay? And is Baker Mayfield better? Baker Mayfield has 100 times the size of a heart as far as for the game that Kirk Cousins does. And Baker Mayfield has a far dramatically more greater chance of getting the Vikings into the playoffs than Kirk Cousins ever will. So I think I was expecting Cousins to be dealt to Denver in the offseason where Denver's GM has that connection with the Vikings too. It didn't happen. They got Russell Wilson instead. I thought maybe Shanahan enters into this picture somehow because he's always been infatuated with Kirk Cousins. That's another show for a different day.
That's unpacking some stuff.
Because obviously Cousins and Kyle Shanahan were together in Washington back in 2010, 11, whatever. But the Vikings, here's what baffles me about the Minnesota Vikings. Okay. Now turn up the volume. If you're in Minnesota, turn up the volume. Okay. Here's what baffles my mind about the Minnesota Vikings. We've touched on a few of these organizations that come in there and they make all these wholesale changes. Okay. The Minnesota Vikings made all these changes. They brought in your guy from the Rams as their new head coach. They brought in a new GM, out with Zimmer that everybody was complaining about, in with the new. but they left the anchor over the side of the boat. Now, Minnesota is a land of 10,000 frozen lakes a lot of times, right? I grew up there. They left the anchor in one of those lakes. They left Kirk Cousins there under center. That guy will drag down the entire organization, and he will siphon every dime out of their bank account in the process. This guy is horrible. They should have gotten rid of him when they could have. They're stuck with him, and it doesn't make any difference about the changes the Minnesota Vikings made because they still have the same terrible quarterback under center, Kirk Cousins, who cannot and will not win anything in the National Football League.
Wild. MTO just hit us with a question. He must be reading our minds because he knows this team is about to be on our radar tonight. But before we get to that question, I'll tell you, I like your thought. I think Baker Mayfield can add a swagger to that quarterback room, to that team. That team needs – wait, is this you telling us you've got a vibe? I got it. I'll tell you, I think that Baker Mayfield can add a vibe to that room that you're not going to see with Kirk Cousins.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's got a heart. He's a fighter. He's a competitor. He's scrappy. He's a guy I'll just say it, okay? He was really perfect for the Cleveland Browns, and I understand that Mr. Haslam, Mr. and Mrs. Haslam, when they wanted to get Deshaun in there, they just watched the Cincinnati Bengals go to the Super Bowl in their own division. Okay. They realize they have to do something dramatic to get there. And I have always, since I've been in contact with Mr. Haslam, applauded what they tried to do outside the box to win for that team. But if Baker was he fit that team, he fit the persona of that team. Yeah. And I agree with you, Stacey. I think he ends up in Minnesota. He adds a lot more to that Vikings quarterback room than they currently have right now.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I love the tie-in between the two teams. Excellent job by the scout here. I am going to move along. We really just knocked out two of our really big off-season Twilight Zone moments.
Wow, we're going.
From our perspective. So we're off and running. We are now going to take a few minutes and we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's very interesting and timely. MTO sent a question I'm going to share with the group here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I got to tell you, I don't think they've had a great offseason, and I'm shocked to say that. They're one of the NFL's and one of sports overall's most iconic franchises, and I feel like they've gone sideways this offseason, and maybe I'm wrong, but they're looking at a quarterback room that now, and tragically, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now includes Mitch Trubisky. We know how you feel about him, and they went out and got Kenny Pickett. And I think we know how you feel about him. On top of that, I'm not sure if you're a Madden EA guy, but MTO wants to know, my God, Kenny Pickett is ranked higher than I mean, come on. I didn't know this, MTO. I gave up that game years ago. I think it's god-awful. I can't believe it. I wish somebody else could get that license. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, in our episode, let's go then with number 3 here. What are they thinking in that quarterback room? And if you want to comment here too, that apparently EA Sports thinks that Kenny Pickett's going to be the 23rd best quarterback in the NFL. What?
Yeah, let me just start by saying, no.
You're almost kind of speechless. No.
Kenny Pickett, for SI Lions, if you go back and look at my article about Kenny Pickett from last October, I took one look at him. About the first 5 minutes, I knew this guy didn't stand a chance of winning any football games in the National Football League. He's awful. Kenny Pickett makes last year's version of Zach Wilson look like a superstar. Okay?
Oh man, okay. We know how much you love Zach Wilson, and go easy on MTO. That's his guy.
No, I understand. I understand that. But I mean, we saw Zach Wilson struggles. Zach Wilson looks like Johnny Unitas compared to what Kenny Pickett looks like coming out of college. Okay, this guy is so awful. Okay. Now, here's this Kenny Pickett thing, okay? I put a 5th to 7th round grade on him. He's a career backup at best. He's quirky in the pocket. He's uncomfortable in the pocket. These are not words you want to hear if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan right now. So you might want to turn this down a little bit, okay? This is not good for Pittsburgh, okay? Pittsburgh may be thinking the next coming of Terry Bradshaw. I'm thinking it's the next coming of some quirky guy that's out of the league, okay? This guy is awful because he's uncomfortable in the pocket, okay? And his ball placement downfield is kind of all over the road. And also, too, he's got the third smallest hands out of like 650 measured quarterbacks over the last 37 years, according to Pro Football Network, okay? And so now you're going to come into Pittsburgh where the weather is raining one day and snowing the next and sleeting for half the afternoon. And you're going to put a bigger ball, regulation-sized football, than the college ball in these little small hands of Kenny Pickett, okay, who has to wear gloves to even grip the ball to begin with in college. And now he's going to be gripping the NFL ball. This guy, I hope NFL Films Follies is got a camera crew at Heinz Field every week because this guy is awful. I mean, this guy is so bad. I thought Scott Zolak was the worst quarterback I'd ever seen in my life when I was with the Jets from the Patriots until I saw Kenny Pickett. Okay, this guy's got bust. This guy could endorse shirts to say bust. I mean, this guy is awful. Okay, this guy is hands down terrible. So I don't know how much more clear I can make it, Stacey. I mean, the guy's awful. And this is a joke, okay? This is a joke. This guy isn't a first-round pick. This is classic politics in the NFL. And please, by all means, Steelers fans, I want you to save the receipts, and I want to become the next GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers off your receipts, okay? Because this is so bad. People are going to get fired over this thing, okay? That's how bad this thing is.
Wow.
This guy's going to get people fired. He's that bad. And so for Madden football to put him over, what was the names we had there again?
I believe it was, let's see, Tua, Fields of the Chicago Bears, Zach Wilson, and Malik Willis.
Let me say this, okay? And now I'm not a big Zach Wilson guy, obviously. We've gone down that road before, but Tua
once or twice.
Tua could give this guy, could mentor this guy. Okay, Justin Fields could be his dad. Okay, that's how much he's going to school him.
Brutal.
And yeah, absolutely. And Malik Willis has got more talent in his pinky than Kenny Pickett's family tree has in their whole family. Okay, that's all bad. Okay, that's the reality here. Okay, Malik Willis runs. If you put Malik Willis on game tape and you watch him compared to Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis runs a 4.37 40. Kenny Pickett looks like he's stumbling over his own shoelaces. I mean, this is unbelievable. I'm really surprised by EA Sports just having that lack of vision for the quarterback ratings. That's just really alarming to me. I don't.
I'll say it's EA Sports.
And then not only that, but to compound the problems in Pittsburgh, not only do you have the worst quarterback in the NFL that you just drafted, okay? Now, Sam Howell. I mean, he's right.
You were a big fan of that move too.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. That guy it's like watching paint dry. He's so exciting. It's okay. Not only do you got the worst quarterback in the National Football League you drafted in the first round, but then you add injury to the insult and you bring in Mitch Trubisky. It's like I don't know what it's like. I would call it the Three Stooges if you had another person in the room, but it's like the Two Stooges. I mean, it's awful. This is terrible. You guys have Pittsburgh Steelers fans. You have bought a one-way ticket to the basement of that division, the AFC North, for as long as those clowns are on your roster. These guys are horrible. These guys are terrible. They bring nothing to the game, nothing to your offense. Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett are going to be the absolute joke of the NFL in 2022.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm looking at the Steelers myself, and I'm feeling for guys like Najee Harris. And, of course, MTO brought up, too, that on the defensive side of the ball, Steven Tuitt had upped and retired, I believe, yesterday or earlier today. The Steelers just look to me, and I will start with that quarterback room. They look like a team in decline. franchise in decline.
Decline. They jumped off an airplane without a chute on this one.
It absolutely, I can't disagree. I was not big on Kenny Pickett at all. I'm not trying to be nasty or mean to anyone, but if you're picking somebody that high in the first round, what was it, number 20, number 21, 22, right in there,
Terrible.
or the Pickett pick, if you will. And I just see a guy that's very similar to Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert looks like a superstar compared to this guy.
Yeah, I just don't see it, and I'm very surprised for the Steelers to. I realize he's from Pittsburgh and all that good stuff, but there's number 3 on our unresolved Twilight Zone issues going on.
Weird, yeah. I mean, and I go way back with the Steelers organization. I mean, I work with Dick Haley, who built the '70s dynasty. I work with him in the Jets. I intern with Tony Dungy. He goes back with the Steelers organization as well. I'm just with you. Talk about the Twilight Zone. I mean, the Steelers have always had, they go from Big Ben to these two guys is like going from driving a Ferrari to driving a Schwinn bike with one wheel. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
I don't see it ending well there, even though he is a hometown kid.
Yeah. It makes no difference. They're going to be drafted in the top 5 for the next 5 years. I mean, it's going to be comical. I mean, if you're a Browns or a Bengals or a Ravens fan, this is going to feel like a dream come true for you.
Very interesting. It's going to be a story to watch. I'm watching it very closely. I think the Steelers, I honestly think, looping back to our number 1 story in our unresolved Twilight Zone issues, I think the Steelers should have went after Baker Mayfield. That's my take on it.
That would have been very interesting, actually. That would have made it for a great rivalry between them and the Browns and that whole thing. I agree with you. That would have been – I don't think that Cleveland would ever traded him to Pittsburgh, but if they could have worked a 3-way deal or something like that. And I really, really, really think Pittsburgh had a great opportunity that we talked about this pre-draft is to make a play and make an offer for Kyler Murray. That would have made that team very competitive with when you look at Joe Burrow, when you look at Deshaun Watson, when you look at Lamar Jackson, if you could have added Kyler Murray to that mix, all of a sudden Pittsburgh's in the mix. But they neglected to do that. And it's just, I mean, and not only that, but Malik Willis, the jersey I'm wearing, lasted to the 3rd round, which was just ridiculous. Pittsburgh could have taken him in the 2nd round and had somebody that actually could have balled and played well. And I just think that, Kevin Colbert, the GM, just resigned. I think it's going to serve as a tremendous blemish on his legacy. That's his last number 1 draft pick. I feel for you, Steelers fans. I'm not trying to get too crazy here. I feel for you because my heart's always with the fans. But what just an absolute, just an off season that everybody in Pittsburgh will wish never happened.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. I think I didn't see it as a positive either. I thought they actually did not have a good draft, in my opinion. Yeah. So, okay, you kind of touched on Twilight Zone storyline number 4. Kyler Murray. He showed up to camp today. What great timing with the Dirty Pocket podcast. He shows up to camp today, joins his teammates in Arizona after missing the first week. What are we watching happening here? I love it, by the way.
I know you do. What we're watching is a quarterback who's either going to hold out or a quarterback who's probably going to be demand a trade to a different team. Is just trying to posture a little bit, I think. I do not see Kyler Murray going under center for the Arizona Cardinals this season.
Wow.
I don't see that at all. In fact, because it's like we go back to we talked about this on a previous show too, about a relationship. When you see people, when you look at these players and they scrub their social media, it's like somebody moving out of the house or moving out of an apartment in a relationship. And even if you get back together with that person, it's never the same. And it usually just, they're not happy. And Kyler Murray's not happy. And nor is he worth remotely the money he's asking for. I mean, this guy hasn't done anything or won anything or proven hardly anything in the NFL. I think, what was the record I shared with you? Let me see here. Let me get this out real quick. Kyler Murray, let me check with my statistician, my phone.
They're dialing in. They're dialing in.
Kyler Murray, career winnings, career record. Okay, so Kyler Murray, right? Okay, so his career record, all-time
You're going
wins.
deep on this.
Well, yeah. Here's the deal. I want to see. Okay, so this now, what's he asking for again, Stacy? Do you have that on your screen?
I do not have even what I don't believe that he's come out with a number or
He did
demand.
come out with a number.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he came out with a number.
Shame on me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Kyler Murray contract.
Very interesting.
Okay. So he wants around, where is it here? He wants, Arizonasports.com says he wants in the neighborhood of $280 million. Okay. Now, let me just say something really quickly. That's how much he wants. Okay.
That's absolutely insane.
Arizona Cardinals fans, turn up the volume a little bit. Turn up the volume. Okay. There we go. We're talking about a quarterback who has a career record of 22, 23, and 1. Okay. He has a losing record. Okay. He's not even 500 quite. And he wants $280 million. This guy is going to be really hard pressed to find that with anybody, let alone the Cardinals. Let me just say something for those who don't know the background of the Arizona Cardinals. The Bidwells do not pay that kind of money to anybody. Okay. And they're not about to pay. I mean, the Cardinals notoriously been known as the cheapest organization for years. You remember that, Trey Stacy, for years?
Oh yeah. But there was some argument that the Rams were trying to take that away from them.
Right. They're not going to pay $280 million for this. So long story short, this is not going to end well for the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray. It's just I just don't feel it's going to end well at all. And so he showed up to OTAs. He's make a guest appearance, sign a few autographs. But trust you and me, he's not happy in Arizona, and this is going to turn into a nightmare for the organization.
I just don't see it either, and I thought that we would see Kyler Murray moved. I was on record on this podcast as saying that I thought Kyler Murray would be moved.
Me too. I wrote an article about it.
Yeah, and I certainly thought that the number one guy on our Twilight Zone list, which I'm going to cut to here in about 30 seconds, these were two guys that were going to be on the move this year out of the NFC West. I don't see this ending well for Kyler Murray. I think that there was a significant amount of damage done to his confidence and his attitude overall to be quite frank, when the world champion Los Angeles Rams gave him a beatdown in that playoff game, he immediately just reverted to somebody we hadn't seen before, maybe at least not as fans. So
that's a great point.
Too think
a great point.
I think that oh boy, even MTO was in there that he wants more than Mahomes. I mean, it's just the kind of insanity. Mahomes has been MVP, he's won a Super Bowl. It's just the kind of nutty things.
You got to win. I mean, like Aaron Rodgers, we're all we need air freshener just to hear his name mentioned in a room. But I mean, at least Aaron Rodgers has done something. Mahomes has done something.
Yes,
this guy hasn't done anything worth anything. I mean,
right.
It's if I was a GM in the Arizona Cardinals, I would call Kyler Murray in my office just so I could start laughing out loud and then ask him to please leave. I mean, this guy hasn't done anything. And how he can ask for $280 million, it's just bizarre.
It's absolutely mind-boggling to me that he went there for a guy who was not performing. Look, he's had his flashy moments in the NFL. We get that. But he looked so bad in that playoff game. And he looked bad, actually, the last half of the season. He came out of the gates really fast in September, October. And then you and I talked about it on this podcast. You called it too. They faded. They faded into nowhere. For him to ask for that's insanity. Okay, in the interest of time, we only have a few minutes left. We got to get into our number one weirdest off-season storyline, sponsored by. Now, come on, they need to call us. Call us, G Fuel. Call us.
This message furnished by the National Football League.
After what MTO said, I'm trying to get you out of here sooner than later because I'm afraid you're going to, piss yourself. He said that stuff just runs right through you.
I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't. I drank 3/4 of the can, and I feel like,
God, your guts are rotting out. Okay,
I'm okay.
Number one bizarre off-season storyline, and I'm going to try to keep you inside the rails because we only have a few minutes left. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy
in
G.
San Francisco. Jimmy G.
I've written songs about this guy.
Yes. Those are they're finding their way all over the internet on places like TikTok and Twitter. Jimmy Garoppolo. What this story in San Francisco? We're not going to talk about Trey Lance. We're not going to talk about the people who come in the show and talk about him. Jimmy Garoppolo, and you made a comment earlier this week, actually, on Twitter, where you made the question, why are people so eager to run this guy to town, and followed it up with his box stats.
Right.
What is going – we know what's going on. Is Jimmy G going to start and end the season as a San Francisco 49er next year?
Yes.
Wild.
Yeah,
he is. Wild.
He is. He really is. It's a very bizarre situation. I don't know about you, Stacey, but I have never in the 40 years of being around the game and watching the game seen a fan base treat what MTO is saying there. I've never seen a fan base mistreat a quarterback who's done more for an organization in my lifetime.
I actually have, and I want to bring it up who he is. Keep going.
Please do save that thought for a second, because this is nuts to me. I thought it was bad the way they treated Tim Tebow in Denver after he won that playoff game and brought back that organization from the dead. With Kyle Orton had about 1-4, and he ended up leading the playoffs and winning a playoff game. Then they trade him to the Jets right after that. That was bizarre. But this is even more bizarre to me in my scope of experience because, this is a guy who's led San Francisco to 2 NFC championship games in 3 years, and they just hate him. They can't wait to get rid of this guy. And it's mind-blowing. It really is. But here's the reality of it, okay? Is that, this is about winning games. And bottom line is that Jimmy Garoppolo is better analytically speaking in terms of the metrics than Trey Lance in every single category except for rushing. So when the bottom line is that, Jimmy G gives the 49ers a better chance. Now, is Jimmy G the answer at quarterback? I gave him a B-. I don't think he's the best thing since sliced bread, but he sure is a lot better than the alternative. And I think at the end of the day, actions speak louder than the words. Okay. So we all these different things have gone on, but the reality is, okay, the fan base said Jimmy G is going to be traded before during the draft. That didn't happen. June 1st, he'll be cut. Okay. It's June 2nd. He's still there. Jimmy G is still there. It's still moving towards the season. And I think what we're seeing here, folks, is I think we're watching. Because just about everything Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have said since Trey Lance was drafted has not come true. I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a classic oversell and the under-delivery thing. We're watching a classic oversell. They keep pushing this thing out. They keep pushing it out. It's almost like somebody other than Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch demanded that Trey Lance be drafted with the 49ers. I don't know, maybe ownership. I'm not sure what it is out there, but they're not acting like neither one of these guys, Lynch or Shanahan, are acting like they want to start Trey Lance, and they're not acting like they want to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, okay? Because those two components are still there. And I think what we're going to see happening, long story short, is we're going to see this thing evolve into the preseason, in training camp of the preseason. And at the last second, because obviously they want to try to mitigate the damage control, okay, and try to mitigate the fallout. The last second, right before opening day, Shanahan's going to come out and say, well, just all things considered, we're going to start Jimmy G and just see how it goes. And just kind of sell it that way and keep selling this Lance thing down the river because this is a major problem for the 49ers. I put out a video this week called The Mismanagement of the 49ers on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. You can check that out if you go to it. Former NFL scout Daniel Kelly is the channel. And I counted 13 problems, the affection and 19 problems of Debo. But I counted 13 problems. And this one is the biggest problem that they have because here's a guy that's counting $24.2 million against their cap. The quarterback's coach, Brian Griese, has come out publicly and said that he's not in communication with him. He's still the starting quarterback. The team responds better to him. Nobody knows who the starter is going to be. It's a bunch of confusion. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. And I honestly don't think that Jimmy G was ever on the trading block officially. I think that Lynch and Shanahan basically said he was up for a trade, but I don't believe it was ever true. I don't believe it's true at all. I believe that basically Kyle Shanahan wants to stick with Jimmy G, and he's trying to do it in the most diplomatic way possible.
Look, I think at this point, you're never going to get it. There should be a lot of people who offer you an apology. I agree with MTO. I've never seen a 49er player vilified like this, who's gotten you to a Super Bowl, an NFC championship, and just kept you competitive while playing with a busted up body and getting the hell kicked out of him by Aaron Donald twice a year. It's weird. That fan base, as a guy who's been a world champion Rams fan his entire life, I've watched the 49ers are our rivals. And that fan base, and I will say it on the air, has gotten increasingly more bizarre to me. I lived through Joe Montana. I lived through Steve Young. I go back further. I lived through Steve DeBerg and Paul Hofer. I mean, legendary 49ers. And the fan base for the Niners now and this Jimmy Garoppolo story is downright damn bizarre. It is number one on this list. It is like, what?
It's really gotten strange. It really has.
Yeah.
I got a tweet yesterday from a fan who claimed he'd been a 49ers fan for 60 years.
Wow.
If you've been a 49ers fan for 60 years, you know good quarterback
I'm close.
play. You know good quarterback play, though. And even when you look at Lance and compare this to Montana and Young and these different people, Alex Smith, these people have come through there, it's just bizarre. I mean, the 49ers fan base wants to trade a proven commodity for an unknown quarterback that played glorified high school football in college, who basically it proved nothing on game film in the preseason, regular season from last year. But that's what it's like the old saying: be careful what you wish for, because Now, who were you going to say, Stacey? You said you have seen a situation.
Oh, I got to tell you, yeah, and then we'll wrap up for this week on the Dirty Pocket. But I'll tell you, the Garoppolo thing is intriguing. Now, granted, it's not an apples to apples comparison. But what's happening reminds me somewhat similar to what happened to Kurt Warner when he left the Rams, when Mike Martz ran him out of town. He injured his thumb against the Chiefs in 2000, and he was never the same. They popped in Mark Bulger.
And the Giants, right?
Yeah, and he went to the Giants, and he kind of started ahead of Eli, and then, of course, they moved him out of the way for Eli, and he went to Arizona to back up Matt Leinart and ends up being a starter, taking him to another Super Bowl. He's a Hall of Famer. But that whole dynamic is so eerily similar. Like, here's Jimmy Garoppolo. He's taken you to two, king of the hill moments, and all you guys want to do is run him out. I listen to people want to run Kurt Warner out of town as a Ram. Like, are you kidding me? This guy broke so many records, Super Bowl MVP. He's taken us to 2 Super Bowls. All they wanted to do was get him out of town so that Mark Bulger could play. And Bulger, it wasn't fair to Bulger, who had talent. Bulger went on to do some special things too.
Right.
MVP of a Pro Bowl and all that. But he's not in the Hall of Fame, and Kurt Warner is. And it's very similar. I'm watching this going, I've seen this before where people just want to run a winning quarterback out of town for some young guy. And in this case, I mean, Bulger was at West Virginia. I mean, he played major college football. Trey Lance played at North Dakota State. I mean, and he wasn't tearing up college football at North Dakota State. So
and the 49ers
it's really weird.
This is one of the more sophisticated fan bases in the NFL that's seen championship and winning football over the decades.
Iconic franchise.
It's iconic, and exactly. And for them to be this wild about an unproven guy who wasn't even good enough to play FBS football and had to play at a smaller school because he didn't have what it takes. And then that's what they're so excited about. They want to get rid of Jimmy G. Then they say, "Oh yeah, this guy is just." I mean, there's pictures going around online that people send me because, of course, people just go nuts with me, right? So they send me all these pictures and everything, these private messages, and it says number 10 garbage on the back instead of Garoppolo. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and it's just
Weird.
I don't get it. I don't remotely understand it, because there's a lot of teams in the NFL that never get that far, even to the NFC Championship game. I understand the frustration. The 49ers fan base, they're accustomed to winning Super Bowls. They want to win Super Bowls. That's the aim. That's the expectation. But you know what? Getting to the NFC title game is pretty darn good too. And you got to be real careful before you get rid of a guy who's leading you to those championship games, because he also has incredible leadership intangibles. He raises everybody's level of play. The locker room loves the guy. He's charismatic. He gets the best out of everybody. And he leads that team that way through the intangibles. This is why Bill Belichick drafted him, because his leadership intangibles are off the charts. That's what's happening there. And not only that, to get this week I saw this, right? Go look this up in Stat Muse, to our listeners. Okay, Jimmy G is on a very, very, very short list of quarterbacks who have won 70% or more of their games in the National Football League. Okay, there's only one other active quarterback right now on that list, and it's Tom Brady. That's it. He's got a higher winning percentage than Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or, Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes or, 50-game minimum. He's over 70% for a winning percentage. Okay. He's a winning quarterback. He's winning. And you guys want to run him out of town. That's you know what? You guys deserve a 2-15 season. And if you guys run out Jimmy Garoppolo out of town, I can't wait, because I'm going to become an NFL GM based off this bet.
This is it's really bizarre. I think that this situation, and the reason it is where it's at, is because this will make or break Kyle Shanahan. This will make this decision. What happens next is going to be a career-altering, history-altering. So it's very strange. And folks, there's our list of the top 5 just bizarro open storylines here in the NFL offseason.
One more thing.
Of course.
One more thing. That's why. Did you see those videos on Twitter during the NFL owners meetings when Kyle Shanahan was on there talking?
Oh, yeah. I saw them all. He wouldn't commit to anything.
He wouldn't commit to anything.
No.
He was very nervous. He was uncomfortable. He was playing with his cup of coffee during the whole time he's talking.
Yep.
His eyes were very shifty. He looked like he looked like he hadn't got hardly any sleep. He looked stressed out to the hills.
Absolutely.
He looked very nervous. I agree with you 100%. That's why I wanted to say to Stacey, because this will define Kyle Shanahan's coaching career.
Absolutely.
And so what he's going to do, and I think this is why obviously the facts speak for themselves. He's putting this off. It's like a kid who's trying to avoid something. He's putting this off to the last possible second.
Yep. Completely agree. There you have it, folks. That is our top 5 Twilight Zone storylines still going on out there as of June 2nd. And the Scout is amped up on G Fuel, which apparently MTO is familiar with.
Yeah.
I am drinking sugar-free stevia. We are going to wrap it up this week here in the Dirty Pocket. Folks, we ask that you follow, like, subscribe on YouTube. We are over on Twitch. We are building this thing. We're going to have some fun with this moving forward, bring in a lot of NFL storylines, guests, etc. So like, watch, follow. We appreciate all that you do for us. You can find the Scout writing for Sports Illustrated, Detroit Lions, and MTO's New York Jets. Mm-hmm. And you can find me hosting Gridiron Icon with some of the legendary players, coaches, and fans of the game of the NFL.
Thank you, MTO. Thank you.
MTO, thank you again. You are definitely number one guy here in the pocket. So thanks for climbing the pocket with us every week.
MTO.
And in conclusion, Scout Kelly, any parting shots?
Can you smell me?
Oh, no. You're in Key West, Florida, and I'm in Portland, Oregon. No.
I'm doing this for my wife, Samantha, okay? Because before I go on every podcast or a show, I actually put on a little cologne. It's just something that's kind of psychological.
Wow.
Get ready in that. So she said, ask Stacey tonight if he can smell you on this show. So can you?
I'm gonna go with no. But I'm gonna say it doesn't matter. You're a sexy beast, and
thank you,
and
Stacey.
the wife is only enhancing this. Here is what I can smell. I can smell championship football because this guy's a fan of the world champion Los Angeles Rams.
Well, your man cave says it all. I mean, let nobody ever have a question what team you cheer for. You've actually updated that man cave. You got more Ram stuff up on the wall now than ever before. And yeah, we know where you're at. We know what zip code you live in as far as your fandom. We know.
Absolutely. I should ask you, can you smell championship football from Key West?
Yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's really been a while.
Hang in there, my friend.
I was at the stadium, Super Bowl 26, when the Redskins beat Buffalo 37-24 for my high school graduation present, January 26, 1992. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've sniffed that Vince Lombardi trophy.
Hang in there, man. Last time I got to see one, I had brown hair, and that says it all. Hey, for all you listening and watching on YouTube, Twitch, and all that, thank you. Thank you to our loyal friends, coming quickly family, MTO. And we appreciate all you have to say and do. It's okay to disagree with us. Hit us up on Twitter at Dirty Pocket Pod. And you can find the Scout at Whatever It Takes books. So go find us there. And friends, pile on with the G Fuel.
That's right. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. G Fuel.
Okay. We will see you all next week.
I don't think it's bedtime for me.
Oh, God. Have a good weekend.